given the international trends that we are currently seeing with the US stacking up on Bitcoin, China, it came news just this week out of Latvia that they're going to acquire a strategic Bitcoin reserve,
Yeah.
and many other countries. Given these international trends, wouldn't it be at least reasonable for them to evaluate the possibility of acquiring a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Sweden alongside the gold reserve, alongside the currency reserve? And we could do this in a budget neutral way without using taxpayers' money, getting confiscated Bitcoin from Swedish authorities and transfer them to the Swedish central bank. What they did was that they basically laughed at the question and said no and kept on reasoning about that they need a liquid asset, that they need a asset that is not correlated with crime or terrorism, which is of course ridiculous, and that they need an asset that is stable in value. And if I may keep on my reasoning here, Pete. So if you look at these three claims, the liquidity of Bitcoin, as I understand, Bitcoin has had 100% uptime since 2013. It is traded 24/7, 365. It has all the features that you want to see in a reserve asset. It is globally transferable. It doesn't know any limits due to jurisdiction. So that is completely wrong. The Swedish central bank, of their currency reserve, they have 2.5% of the Norwegian krona is the Norwegian currency. And to claim that the Norwegian krona has better liquidity than Bitcoin, which it's the sixth biggest asset, right, today? Yeah.
Yeah, bigger than Amazon.
Yeah, it's frankly absurd, really. And then you look at the second claim, which was that you don't want any correlation with crime or terrorism. According to Chain Analysis, they're saying that only 0.34% of all Bitcoin transactions are linked to crime. So this is much more lower statistics than for traditional transactions. Also, the Swedish police themselves have said that for them it's much easier to track a cash or a Bitcoin transaction than it is to track a cash transaction, because it's so transparent and every information you need is on the blockchain. And the last claim that they made was that they need something that is stable in value. And it is true that Bitcoin is a more volatile asset than any other asset class. But if you look at the store of value, so I went into Fred.com, it's the Federal Reserve Economic Data, and compared, how many Satoshis it takes to acquire a basket of eggs versus how many US dollars it takes. And what you see through the timeline is that it takes fewer and fewer Satoshis to acquire a basket of eggs and more US dollars. The same trends are visible for acquiring a US home or acquiring gold. So Bitcoin really is a better store of value, obviously, than the US dollar. So if the Swedish central bank are basing their whole conclusion on these three claims, they're entirely wrong.